my God, are you serious right now? Look what you made me do!
I apologize, miss. Let me clean that up for you.
Clean it up. You think that fixes this? Do you have any idea how much this coat cost?
I understand you're upset. I'll be careful not to.
Upset? I'm not upset. I'm furious. You people are always in the way, blocking everything with your stupid cart.
Chloe, that's enough.
Excuse me, did you just tell me that's enough?
You spilled your own coffee. He's trying to help.
He bumped into me. I wouldn't have spilled anything if he'd been paying attention.
Miss, I truly am sorry. Please let me make this right.
Make it right. You're a janitor. What are you going to do? Mop my coat? God. This is exactly why I hate flying commercial.
That is completely out of line.
Out of line. You want to talk about out of line? You've been on your phone this entire trip ignoring me. And now you suddenly care about what I say.
Keep your voice down. People are staring.
Let them stare. Maybe they'll finally see what it's like dealing with incompetent staff and an absent father.
Sweetheart, he's just doing his job.
Did I ask for your opinion? Mind your own business.
It's quite all right. I've got it handled.
You've got nothing handled. You're standing there with a mop while my $300 coat is ruined. That's the definition of not handling it.
I apologize for my daughter's behavior.
Don't apologize for me. I'm standing right here.
No apology necessary, sir. We all have difficult days.
Oh, don't patronize me. A difficult day. You have no idea what a difficult day looks like. Try having your entire life planned out by people who don't even care enough to show up.
Chloe, please, can we just...
No, we can't just anything. I'm going to find somewhere quiet where people actually know how to do their job.
I hope your flight is pleasant, miss.
Whatever.
The girl walked away with the confidence of someone who had never faced a single consequence in her 16 years of life. Her father stood there, phone still clutched in his hand. Shame coloring his features, a particular shade of gray that comes from recognizing your own failures reflected in someone you love. The janitor knelt on the polished airport floor, methodically wiping up the spilled caramel macchiato with careful, practiced movement. His hands were steady. His expression revealed nothing. But his eyes told a different story entirely. Chloe Hartford didn't notice. She was already 30 feet away, plugging her phone into a charging station near Gate 47, scrolling through her social media with the blank expression of someone perpetually disappointed by everything. She had been this way for as long as anyone could remember. Her mother blamed the divorce. Her father blamed the money. Her therapist, the fourth one in 2 years, blamed attachment issues and something called narcissistic tendencies that Chloe had Googled once and then promptly dismissed as psychobabble. The truth was simpler and sadder than any of those explanations. Chloe had never been taught that other people were real, not in the way that mattered. She had been raised by nannies who were paid to tolerate her, attended schools where her parents' donations bought infinite patience from administrators, and moved through a world that bent itself into accommodating shapes whenever she approached. She was 17, she was beautiful, she was wealthy, and she had never not once been told no in a way that stuck. The airport stretched around her like a small city, all glass and steel and the constant hum of humanity in motion. Outside, planes lifted into gray November skies. Inside, people rushed past with their rolling suitcases and their worried expression, checking watches and phones and departure boards. Chloe noticed none of it. She was texting her friends about the Paris trip, complaining about the 4-hour delay, making plans for which arrondissement they'd visit first. Her father, Thomas Hartford, stood near the window making apologetic gestures to the janitor, who had finished cleaning and was moving his cart toward the next gate. Thomas wanted to say something more, to somehow compensate for his daughter's behavior, but the words caught in his throat the way they always. He was a successful man, vice president of corporate strategy at a Fortune 500 company. He gave presentations to boards of directors. He negotiated contracts worth millions, but he could not talk to his own daughter. The janitor glanced back once as he pushed his cart down the concourse. His name tag read William Morrison. He was perhaps 65, with silver hair and dark eyes and the kind of weathered face that suggested he had seen more of life than most people ever would. He smiled slightly, as if at some private joke, and continued on his way. Chloe walked to the duty-free shop, her designer boots clicking against the tile floor. The shop smelled like perfume and chocolate, and expensive things wrapped in unnecessary packaging. She picked up a bottle of fragrance, sprayed it on her wrist, wrinkled her nose. The woman behind the counter approached with a professional smile.
This isn't the limited edition. This perfume. You're displaying the regular version. I specifically came here for the limited edition with the gold cap. That's unacceptable. I was told you had it. But do you know how much money I spend in duty-free shops? Do you have any idea?
The woman's smile tightened almost imperceptibly, a tiny fracture in her professional facade.
I don't want alternatives. I want what I came for. Then I guess I'll just have to call your manager and explain how terrible the customer service is here.
The woman walked to the back of the shop with rigid shoulders. Chloe stood there, scrolling through her phone, unbothered by the scene she'd created. Two other customers glanced at her and then quickly away, the way people do when they witness something embarrassing that doesn't concern them. Her father appeared at her elbow.
What are you doing?
Shopping. Or trying to. These people are completely incompetent.
They don't have one bottle of perfume, so you're making a scene?
I'm not making a scene. I'm advocating for myself.
There's a difference between advocating and being cruel.
Oh my God. Dad. Can you not do this right now? I'm already stressed about the delay, and now I can't even buy the one thing I wanted, and you're giving me a lecture about being cruel? Are you kidding me?
When did you become this person?
The question hung between them like something fragile and sharp. Chloe looked at her father for a long moment. Really looked at him, and for just a second something flickered across her face that might have been recognition or regret. Then it was gone.
I became this person when you and Mom decided your careers were more important than raising me. So maybe ask yourself that question. Dad.
She walked out of the shop before he could respond, leaving him standing there among the perfumes and chocolate. A man who had everything except the ability to reach his own child. The gate area was crowded now. The delay had been extended another hour. People sprawled across chairs, typing on laptops, scolding children, eating overpriced sandwiches from airport restaurants. Chloe found a seat in a corner, as far from everyone as possible, and put in her headphone. She didn't want to talk to anyone. She didn't want to think about what her father had said, or the look on that janitor's face, or the way the woman in the duty-free shop had smiled with her eyes full of something that might have been pity. She just wanted to get to Paris and forget this entire miserable day. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. An elderly woman sitting 3 rows away suddenly clutched her chest and slumped sideways in her seat. Her companion, another older woman, cried out for help. People jumped up, looking around with that particular blend of concern and helplessness that comes from witnessing a medical emergency. Chloe pulled out one headphone and watched with detached curiosity. Then she saw the janitor. William Morrison moved through the crowd with purposeful calm, his cart forgotten near a pillar. He knelt beside the woman, checked her pulse, spoke to her in a low, steady voice. His hands moved with practiced certainty, positioning her correctly, checking her airway, radiating a competence that seemed impossible for someone in a janitor's uniform.
Someone call 911. She's having a cardiac event. I need everyone to step back and give her space.
The crowd obeyed instantly. There was something in his voice, some quality of absolute authority that made people respond without question.
You're going to be fine. Help is coming. Stay with me. Breathe slowly. That's it. You're doing great.
Chloe sat forward in her chair, headphones dangling around her neck, watching this scene unfold with growing confusion. This wasn't how janitors acted. This wasn't how anyone acted except doctors or paramedics or people with training. Who was this man? An airport employee in a suit rushed over. Phone pressed to his ear, speaking urgently to emergency services. He glanced at William Morrison, and something passed between them, some flash of recognition that Chloe couldn't quite interpret.
Mr. Morrison, sir, your car is ready whenever you need it. But I can have them wait if...
The car can wait. This is more important.
Sir?
The word hung in the air like a wrong note in a familiar song. Chloe's brain stuttered over it, trying to make sense of what she'd just heard. Airport employees didn't call janitors, sir. They didn't mention cars waiting for them. They didn't look at them with that particular expression of deference and respect. The paramedics arrived within minutes, taking over with their equipment and their clipped professional voices. William Morrison stepped back, giving them space, watching to make sure the woman was stabilized before he quietly retrieved his cart and moved away. Chloe stood up without quite meaning to. She followed him at a distance, weaving through the crowds, staying far enough back that he wouldn't notice. He pushed his cart to a service corridor and paused there, pulling out his phone. His entire posture changed. The humble curve of his shoulders straightened. His voice, when he spoke, carried a different weight.
Tell them I'll be there for the dedication tomorrow morning. And make sure the scholarship recipients know I want to meet each of them personally. No, I'm fine. Just finishing up here. I'll see you tonight.
Then he noticed her watching, and his face shifted back into that careful, neutral friendliness.
Can I help you find something, miss?
Who are you?
I'm sorry?
You're not just a janitor.
I'm whoever I need to be on any given day.
That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't it? Most things make perfect sense once you understand the context.
He smiled at her then. And it wasn't unkind, but it also wasn't particularly warm. It was the smile of someone who had already figured her out and found her wanting. Then he walked away, pushing his cart down the corridor, leaving Chloe standing there with questions multiplying in her mind like bacteria in a petri dish. She pulled out her phone and Googled William Morrison. The results loaded slowly on the airport Wi-Fi. When they finally appeared, her stomach dropped. William Morrison, tech entrepreneur, self-made billionaire, founder of Morrison Industries, philanthropist. There were photos, him shaking hands with presidents, him cutting ribbons at hospital openings, him accepting awards for humanitarian work. And there was his story. Born in Korea, immigrated at age 8, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs, started washing dishes at a restaurant when he was 14, put himself through state college, built his first company from nothing, now worth an estimated $4 billion. Chloe read the articles with shaking hands. This man, this janitor she had dismissed and humiliated, could buy her father's company 100 times over and never notice the expense. Her phone buzzed with a text from her friend Meredith. "Did you make it to Paris yet?" She didn't respond. She couldn't. She was too busy understanding for the first time in her life that she had made a terrible, irreversible mistake. The intercom crackled to life overhead.
Attention passengers on Flight 447 to Paris. We are pleased to announce that the mechanical issue has been resolved and boarding will begin in approximately 30 minutes. We apologize for the delay and thank you for your patience.
Chloe sat down heavily in the nearest chair. Around her, people gathered their belongings and moved toward the gate with renewed energy. Her father appeared looking relieved.
Finally, I thought we'd be here all night.
She didn't answer. She was watching the corridor where William Morrison had disappeared, her mind racing through everything she'd said, everything she'd done, trying to calculate the full scope of her humiliation. But she didn't know. She couldn't know. The worst was still coming. The dedication ceremony happened the next morning at Chloe's school, Ashford Preparatory Academy, where tuition cost $60,000 a year, and the donor list read like a Forbes magazine index. Chloe sat in the auditorium with her classmates, hungover from jet lag and the 3 glasses of champagne she'd stolen from the first-class lounge. Her Paris trip had been everything she expected. Shopping, museums she didn't care about, restaurants where she Instagrammed the food and barely ate it. She'd almost forgotten about the airport. Almost. Then the headmistress took the podium.
We are gathered here today to celebrate an extraordinary gift to our school community. Thanks to an anonymous donor, we have completed the renovation of our athletic center, transforming it into a state-of-the-art facility that will serve our students for generations to come.
Polite applause. Chloe scrolled through her phone.
Today, we unveil the name that will grace this building. A name that represents not just generosity, but values we hope to instill in every Ashford student. Values of humility, hard work, and respect for all people, regardless of their station in life.
Something in the headmistress's tone made Chloe look up.
Please join me in unveiling the William Morrison Athletic Center in honor of those who serve.
The curtain dropped. The name appeared in brass letters 6 feet tall. Chloe's vision tunneled. The applause around her sounded like it was coming from underwater. No.
And now, I'm honored to introduce Mr. Morrison himself, who has also established a full scholarship program for children of service workers. 10 students, children of janitors, maintenance staff, and food service workers will receive complete funding for their Ashford education.
William Morrison walked onto the stage in a perfectly tailored suit, looking nothing like the man Chloe had seen in the airport, and everything like the billionaire he actually was. The applause was deafening. Chloe wanted to disappear. She wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. Around her, her friends whispered excitedly. They knew. Somehow, they already knew about the airport. Social media worked faster than Shane.
Is that the guy you were rude to?
Oh my God, Chloe. What did you do?
I heard he could buy this entire school.
She stood up and walked out of the auditorium, ignoring the headmistress's disapproving look, ignoring everything except the need to escape. But there was no escape. That afternoon, her father got the call. His biggest client, a tech company that represented 40% of his division's revenue, wanted a meeting to discuss concerns about corporate culture and values alignment. The company was owned by Morrison Industries. Thomas Hartford sat in his home office that evening, still in his suit, staring at nothing. When Chloe came downstairs, he looked at her with an expression she'd never seen before.
Do you understand what you've done?
Dad,
Do you understand that your behavior, your cruelty to a stranger in an airport, might cost me my job? Might cost us everything?
They wouldn't actually.
They would. They are. And I can't even blame them, because if I were them, I'd do the same thing. Who wants to do business with someone who raises a child like you?
The words hit like physical blows.
When did we fail you this badly?
Chloe had no answer. For the first time in her life, she was completely, utterly silent. The weeks that followed were the worst of Chloe's life. Not because of any dramatic punishment or public humiliation, but because of something quieter and more devastating. People looked at her differently now. Her friends at school, the teachers, even the cafeteria worker. They looked at her and saw someone small and mean and pathetic. The Morrison Scholarship recipients started classes. One of them, a girl named Jenny, was William Morrison's granddaughter. She didn't need the scholarship. Her grandfather could buy her anything. But he'd insisted she be treated exactly like the other recipients. Jenny was kind. Jenny was humble. Jenny was everything Chloe wasn't. Chloe watched her in the hallways and felt something she'd never experienced before. Shame. Real deep, inescapable shame. Her father's contract wasn't canceled, but it was modified. Reduced scope. Probationary status. He came home tired every night, carrying the weight of trying to rebuild trust that his daughter had destroyed. He never yelled at her. He never punished her. He just looked sad. And somehow that was worse than anything else could have been. Chloe spent 3 weeks in this particular hell before she did something she'd never done before. She took responsibility. She wrote a letter to William Morrison. Not an email, not a text. An actual letter on paper in her own handwriting. It took her 3 attempts to get the words right. The first version was full of excuses. The second was full of self-pity. The third was just honest. She apologized. She explained nothing. She asked for nothing. She just said she was sorry and that she was trying to be better. Then she mailed it and waited. 2 weeks passed. Nothing. She began to think he'd thrown it away unread, and she wouldn't have blamed him. Then she got a response. Not a letter, an email. The airport needs weekend custodial help. If you're serious about understanding, the job is yours. 6 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays, minimum wage, no special treatment. She showed the email to her father.
You don't have to do this.
I know!
Then why?
Because I need to.
The first Saturday morning, she showed up at 5:50 a.m. in jeans and an old sweatshirt, her hair pulled back. No makeup. A supervisor handed her a uniform, showed her where the cleaning supplies were kept, and put her to work. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. Not the physical labor, though that was harder than she'd expected. The invisibility. The way people looked through her like she wasn't there. The way travelers left messes without thought, knocked into her cart without apology. Treated her like part of the infrastructure rather than a person. She cleaned bathrooms. She mopped floors. She emptied trash bins full of things she didn't want to think about. And slowly, over weeks and then months, she began to understand. William Morrison never spoke to her directly during those early weeks. But she saw him sometimes, also in uniform, also working. He'd nod when they passed in hallway. Nothing more. She kept showing up. Week after week, month after month. She didn't post about it on social media. She didn't tell her friends. This wasn't performance. This was penance. And maybe, eventually, it became something more than that. Maybe it became a choice about who she wanted to be. The morning it all changed happened in early spring, when the airport was quiet and dawn light was just beginning to filter through the massive window. Chloe was cleaning a window on the upper concourse, her reflection visible in the glass, when she heard a cart approaching. William Morrison stopped beside her. They stood there in silence for a long moment. Two people in janitor uniform, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and pink.
I'm trying to understand.
I know.
Does it get easier?
No, but that's not really the point, is it?
What is the point?
Showing up every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.
He pushed his cart forward a few feet, then paused.
My mother cleaned houses for 20 years. She used to say that you can tell everything you need to know about a person by how they treat the people who serve them.
She must have been a wise woman.
She was. She died thinking I'd never amount to anything because I spent too much time helping other people instead of looking out for myself. She was wrong about that, but right about almost everything else.
Chloe turned back to her window, her reflection staring back at her, and for the first time in her life, she didn't look away from what she saw there.
Understanding takes time. Keep showing up.
Then he walked away down the empty concourse, pushing his cart, leaving Chloe alone with her reflection. The rising sun and the quiet, difficult work of becoming someone better than she'd been. She wiped down the window one more time, making sure it was perfectly clean, and moved on to the next one. Outside, planes lifted into the morning sky, carrying people to places they'd never been, toward futures they couldn't yet imagine. Inside, a girl who'd had everything learned the value of having nothing except the determination to try. It wasn't a dramatic transformation. There was no moment of sudden enlightenment, no tearful reunion, no applause. There was just work. Day after day, week after week. And slowly, imperceptibly, she changed. Not into someone perfect, not into someone whose past mistakes were erased, but into someone who understood finally that every person she met was carrying a story she knew nothing about. That dignity wasn't something you earned through money or status, but something you gave to others through respect and kindness. That the measure of a life wasn't what you accumulated, but what you gave away. 6 months after she started, Chloe was cleaning a bathroom when a teenager walked in, talking loudly on her phone, and knocked Chloe's supply cart over without even noticing. Chloe stood there for a moment, watching the girl disappear into a stall, still talking. still oblivious. She thought about saying something, about demanding an apology, about making a scene. Instead, she just picked up the cart and kept working. Because she understood now. She understood that some lessons can only be learned through experience, that you can't tell someone how to be better. You can only show them through patience and example and the quiet insistence that everyone deserves dignity. Even the people who haven't learned that yet themselves. Especially them. The window she'd been cleaning that spring morning stayed spotless for hours, reflecting the sky and the plains and the endless movement of people who never noticed how clean it was. But Chloe noticed. And that, she was learning, was enough.